got the same heartbeat, but hers has fallen behind. Nothing in this world could ever bring them down. Yeah, they're invincible, and she's just in the background. And she says, I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the cool kids, they seem to fit in. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, like the cool kids. Sees them talking with a big smile, but they haven't got a clue. Yeah, they're living the good life, can't see what he is going through. They're driving fast cars, but they don't know where they're going. In the fast lane, living life without knowing. And he says, I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the cool kids, they seem to fit in. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, like the cool kids. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the cool kids, they seem to get it. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, like the cool kids. And they said, I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the cool kids, they seem to fit in. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, like the cool kids. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the cool kids, they seem to fit in. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, like the cool kids. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the cool kids, they seem to get it. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, like the cool kids.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Tracy, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here today. Those of you who are viewing online, and if you're sitting in here today, we just want to say welcome to Kensington. We're kind of calling this weekend Welcome Home. So for those of you that are sitting in the seats, you should all be holding a cookie. Are you? Because if you're not, you need to get one on the way out, because we have a lot of leftover cookies. But you should have smelled baking cookies when you walked in. We felt like this is a weekend where many of you who have been viewing online have decided to come back and join us in person, or maybe you just had a really busy summer and you're back. But we're so excited to see new faces and familiar faces back again. And what doesn't say home like the smell of baked cookies? I don't know. I never did that. My poor children. But we felt you would enjoy it today, so I hope you did. It was a lot of fun preparing it to just be a fun welcome home day for so many people. So a couple things to share with you today. We are starting a new series called I Feel. And we're looking at the idea of our emotions and how they are a gift from God. And if our emotions are a gift from God and we took the time to process them, we might be able to discover how He can use them for good. And today we're looking at the thought, I feel unseen. And in the song you just heard, that's the opening song called Cool Kids, it talked about how you can be unseen, you can be overlooked, you can struggle in that place. I know that I was definitely not a cool kid in any grade at all. I felt very unseen, unknown. And when I went to my first high school reunion, I honestly didn't think anyone would even know my name. So we're exploring that. What does it feel like to feel unseen? Well, it's not a new concept. It's in the Bible all over the place, and Craig Mays is going to be teaching today on that topic. So we're excited about this new series, I Feel. Now we have a couple retreats coming up. So we have a women's getaway day. We're calling it Getaway. It's a one-day retreat in Detroit next Saturday, and we are inviting you to come, you women, and to invite a friend. What isn't more fun than like 300 plus women getting together in a really cool space, the Durfee, I can't think of the name of it in Detroit, but I saw pictures and it's really neat. We're going to have powerful messages. We're going to have hands-on workshops. We're going to have incredible workshops and music. And here's the idea. When women get together and the topic is who is Jesus, and it's going to be how were you designed? Like a gown, right? When the seamstress puts it all together, she starts with a sketch or a design, or he does, right? God's designed us for one or more or many intentional specific purposes, and we're going to explore that at the retreat. I hope you'll join us. You can go out on the website to join. You can ask questions at the hub. We got a handout there. And we're really looking forward to a great, great getaway next Saturday. Now, for the men, we don't want you to be left out. In October, we have a weekend, and it's called Man Camp. And this concept of camp comes from the idea that base camp is where you start. It's not where you stay, but it's where you start, right? And so, men, you're exploring your life adventure. But where do you start? At a camp where you can explore things. Big decisions are made. Lots of fun are had. There's competitions, there's music, there's worship, there's messages. So we invite you to come back to our retreat. We do this every October called Man Camp. Again, you can go out to the lobby to ask questions at the hub, or you can go onto our website. And speaking of the hub, just a reminder, if you are brand new, this is the place for you to go to ask questions, to learn about Kensington, or ask questions about anything. But even if you're not brand new, it's just your spot to go. If you can't figure something out on the web or you have a question, please go out to the hub and talk to our volunteers. Lastly, this is just an incredible time to be in, right? It's fall. What happens in fall? Things start over, right? Well, that's what we do with our groups and our courses. Our fall semester kicks off in just a couple weeks, so we know that people are getting in that mindset of, okay, I want to hunker down in. I'm ready to maybe join something like Alpha and learn about Christianity, or maybe I want to join a women's group or a men's group and study the Bible. I don't even know how to study the Bible. How do I do that? We'll show you in these groups and courses. You might have a lot of questions about it. So over in the north end, we've got a Connect event out there. People you can talk to and ask questions. You can go online to the groups page and find out all about our courses and groups, and care also. Things like Celebrate Recovery, Divorce Recovery, Grief Recovery. All of this kicks off in a couple weeks, and we just invite you to come and be about community. Meet people and dig into God and your relationship with Him. Now, I said a lot of stuff about that, but this video is going to probably explain it even better. Check it out.
Hi there, I'm Jenny Warrens from our Birmingham campus. On behalf of all of us here at Kensington, welcome. I think there's a reason you're here today, and that maybe God has something specifically for you in today's service. Now, we've been looking forward to today for months now. Know why? It's our fall groups kickoff. That means our small groups, courses, and care workshops are starting up again. Each one of these are what we call jump-in opportunities, a place for you to connect and grow. We believe building community and authentic relationships is a vital part of our spiritual journey. So here are just some of the opportunities we have for everyone this fall.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Kelly, Discipleship Director at Orion Campus, and I know that Kensington can seem like a really big place, and it could feel easy to get lost. So we're working hard to create opportunities for you to connect with others. I'm excited to share with you just a little bit about our small groups. Most groups meet regularly, usually weekly, in people's homes, coffee shops, or wherever it works best to study the Bible, to discuss the weekend service, or just to do life together. And we have all sorts of small groups. We have groups for families, couples, singles, for men only or women only. We even have a group for newlyweds and another at Orion doing great dates for couples. We believe that God designed all of us to be in relationship with others and to not do life alone. So I would love for all of you to check out what our small groups have to offer.
I wanted to tell you about our courses, which are another great way to jump in this fall. Courses meet for several weeks on a topic that's important to you. It's a great way to invest in your growth while connecting with like-minded people. Here are some courses that may interest you. Alpha is a discussion course course where you can explore questions about life and who God is. You listen to a teaching on a key theme of the Christian faith and then participate in a group reflection. Alpha is for everyone. There's no question too big and no topic that's off limits. Another course created right here at Kensington for your own community is Bible Basics. When you invest time in understanding the mysteries of the Bible, that's time well spent. So whether you're new to the Bible or have been reading it for decades, this course will give you an understanding of Scripture's big picture and how all the books of the Bible flow together. We've also heard great things from our couples who have taken the marriage course. This is an opportunity to strengthen and grow your marriage, whether you've been married for 6 months or 40 years. And whether you're in a good season or you're struggling, you'll get practical support to communicate more effectively, understand each other's needs, resolve conflict, and more.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Dundon, and I am really passionate about our care initiatives because I have seen the incredible impact they have had on real people during their hardest seasons of life. Being a participant and a leader in our Celebrate Recovery ministry over the last 8 years has equipped me with the tools to be able to walk through and process the uncertainty of this season that we have been walking through. After the 1.5 years that we've had, so many of us need a safe place to heal and to process. So maybe it's not time to jump into a traditional small group. Maybe it's your time to pursue your own wholeness. The goal of our care initiatives is to provide a safe, distraction-free place where you can heal from the hurts of life and be equipped for the adventures of life. We offer divorce recovery, grief recovery, blended family workshops, and ongoing Celebrate Recovery for the whole family. We also support marriages and families with mentorships, classes, special small groups, and marriage preparation. When facing hard times, tough decisions, or stressful circumstances, investing in yourself is so important. We believe that Jesus is at the center of working through the healing process, and that process can be helped by walking alongside others.
We've been through more than a year of isolation, transition, and loss, haven't we? Many of us are in need of real community now more than ever. Now, God knows you and sees you and made us to live in relationship. So don't let today go by without investigating all your choices to get connected here at Kensington. Find a group near you by visiting kensingtonchurch.org/groups and filtering by your zip code and preferences. Or come out after services to the lobby and we'll be waiting to answer your questions about groups, courses, and care initiatives. Take the first step and we'll help you find the group that's right for you, no matter your life stage, interests, or needs.
Well, good morning. This is not a chorus line. I know it's making some of you nervous right now, but we wanted to take a few minutes to give you some important Kensington, Clinton Township campus updates in terms of things that are going on with our staff. And so I'm going to kick it off down to our wonderful campus director, Sonia, who's going to begin. So Sonia, take it away.
Good morning, Kensington. It is really hard for me to come up here and share this news with you. Once you are a part of the Clinton Township family, you're always part of our family. And so I love when people continue to worship here with us. But we have a couple changes coming up in our staff, and they're good changes, guys. But they're like my family, so I feel like I'm losing here. But we have Tyler, and what is your name? Shauna. I called her Sheena last service. Can you believe it? What was I thinking? Anyway, here's Tyler.
Yeah, so it has been a real honor to serve at this campus for the last 6 years. I've been coming here since I was 16. I'll be 31 next month. So this is my family, and this is my church. I'm not going anywhere, and it's been an absolute privilege to serve our students, and I mean that. And these guys are getting ready to launch our student program today, and I'm grieving not being a part of that chaos. Like, it was truly just an incredible time of my life to be serving in that way, but God's made it clear it's time to do something else. And a while back, I decided to start speaking these things out, and God just started putting some dreams in place in my heart and in Kensington's heart. And my new position is going to be a church resident, a church planning resident. We messed it up in the first service. These guys have been making fun of me all morning. A church planning residence is what we're starting here at Kensington, and I will be the first one. We'll be building out the program, but the hope of the program is to plant churches in unconventional ways. So hopefully that's confusing. Hopefully that interests you and you want to know more about that. We don't have time to explain it all and cast vision for that right now. But if you have questions, I'll be in the lobby after, and I'd love to share more about that with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tyler. Well, my name is Shauna, just to clear that up. And I've been on staff here for a few years working as our production manager here at Clinton Township. And God began to really just stir in some things in my heart over these last few months and really began a dream. And so I've stepped into that here at Kensington, and I am going to be a central teaching pastor. I am going to be the first woman on staff at Kensington as a teaching pastor. So yes, so very excited for that. So thank you so much. And I'm also doing a role in our Central Arts Department as a producer and a manager, and really just getting to help create moments for people to experience and engage in who Jesus is. So I'm thrilled to be in this, and I get to be a part of Clinton Township and all of our campuses in this role.
And as Sonia shared, she's like the mother hen. You did a good job not crying. I mean, she just loves the staff, and in my interim role for the last year, I've grown to love everyone on our team, but it's great to see God grow you and move you to new things and new challenges, and we're excited for that. We know you're still part of our church here. So Tyler shared that he stepped away from the director of student ministries at our campus after 5 or 6 great years, and Stephen's going to explain what's going to happen next.
Yes, my name's Steven, like Craig said, and I've been the Breakaway director for the last 3 years. If you don't know what Breakaway is, that's our middle school ministry. And Tyler and I have been able to work together for the last 3 years and have a ton of fun. I'm going to miss having him here, but we do have a dream team of new hires that I'm really excited about. So I'm taking on the role that is the student ministry director here at this campus. David's taking on the associate student ministries director role, and then Nat here is taking on the groups and operations coordinator role. And then also, last but not least, we have a brand new intern, which we're very excited about. So it's going to be a really awesome year. Like Tyler said, we're launching tonight, so if you have a student, please send them tonight. And if you don't know anything about students and want to get to know more, please come see any of us in the lobby. We'd love to get to know you, tell you more, and hang out, meet you. So anyways, yeah, that's all I have.
We'd like to introduce Sergio. Sergio is another intern that we have this year. So we have 2 interns. We're super excited about them. We have a great program. I wanted to be an intern, seriously. But Sergio is with our worship and arts department. And so we're really excited for these guys to be here. It's a great team. We're excited for all the things that God is doing in their lives that we're able to share them. But I'm just super happy to have these guys.
Also, let's put our hands together and thank this great team. So as they're exiting stage, we do have some positions open right now, and you can go to our website and you can see what's there. But I'm going to mention just one because we're looking for a very particular position for 6 months now, and it's a part-time job, 28 hours a week, to be part of our facilities team. And what this team does is they make sure the building's prepared for all the groups that come in and use it, that it's safe, that it's clean. It's a great community of people working together, and so if you have part-time available, 28 hours a week, you can see Dave Silver in the lobby, or you can go to the hub. Dave Silver is our director of facilities, and he's actually going to be over in one of the little tables there talking about Bible study because he does Bible basics. So we'd love to have you consider joining our team. Well, a couple of the things I want to share with you. The first is I want to talk about what's going on with the search for a lead pastor. I'm interim lead pastor for 11 months now. That's a very long interim time. It's been a time of great joy for me, but I know it's getting maybe wearisome for many of you, and questions are being raised about, well, where are we at in the search? Why is this taking so long? And I want to start by honestly apologizing for not giving you more updates and not communicating better. When I rewind and think back, if I were in your seats, I would want to know what's going on. And so that's just a failure on my part to not lead well on that, and I apologize for that. I do want to let you know that we've been working very, very hard at this, though, because it's an important thing to do to fill this position, to get permanent leadership here. And we've had 6 candidates so far that we've taken into the process of interviewing out of, I don't know, more than 100 that put their hat in the ring. And so we've been doing our work, interviewing, and we got one that got pretty close to the end. In the end, we just didn't feel like that was the right person. We have 2 right now that are hovering kind of close that we're looking at, and hopefully in the next couple of months we might get a chance to introduce one of them to you. So we are in process. We need your prayers. I guess the way I would answer why is this taking so long question that's been raised is that this is a very, very important decision to make, and we got to get it right. And we're praying for discernment. We're not rushing into this. We're taking our time. We're being diligent in our investigation and in our interview process and listening to sermons and talking to references because we care about you. I care about you, and I want to make sure that we bring the right person in. Most of you probably know my story, but I was the lead pastor that launched this campus in 2006 with a team of people, and then God called us to New York City in 2008, which was heartbreaking for me. And now I come back, the baton was handed back to me for this short period, and I want to make sure whoever we hand it to is the right person, the right shepherd, teacher, leader here. So please pray for us in the process. And one of the things I do promise to do in the next weeks ahead, next month, is at least once a month to stand here and give you an update in terms of where we are so you know. And the thing you can do is please pray for us. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me or Sonia, and we can answer specific questions. So you're going to support us, right? You're going to pray for us. We're going to get this person. It's going to be the right one. Okay, last thing. Yesterday was an important marker in America, I think really worldwide, is it marked the 20th anniversary of that tragic event on 9/11 for four planes flew into buildings and went into a field intent on destruction, and there was much loss of life. It was very disruptive. I've lived 13 years in New York City, and every 9/11, it's a very somber feeling and atmosphere. You can feel it. In fact, yesterday I was waiting for a bus in Harlem to get to the airport to fly here, and I just snapped a picture of the bus as it was approaching. You can see on the front it says 9/11, we remember. And it is important to remember for a variety of reasons, but the thing I'd like us to remember right now is, for those of you that remember that day, what were the thoughts and feelings that you had? I can tell you exactly what happened to me and to us as a church. It was on a Tuesday, and Wednesday we had a midweek service. Back then we had one every week at our Troy campus, and I was involved in planning that. And we knew when this happened that we couldn't just go about business as usual. So we got together and decided to do a different kind of service. And so at 7 o'clock on September 12th in 2001, that auditorium, which seats 1,500 people, was filled, standing room only. People longed to hear a word from God, to know how should we manage this, how should we be thinking about this. We all had heightened anxiety, fear, uncertainty. The world in one moment seemed to change. And the impulse of all of us, many of us, was to draw to God. And didn't we see that nationwide? I mean, we just saw churches were filled, people, banners and signs, God bless America. We were working through this, and it drew us to God. But then over time, of course, what happens is we tend to drift away and forget. And so remembering is important for a variety of reasons, but the impulse that I'd like to draw us back to today is that nothing really changed on that day. We should always be dependent on God, always drawn to God, always aware of God, always seeking God and His help and praying for peace in our world. And so I'd like to take a few moments right now. I've met so many people in New York City that lost loved ones on that day. One of my good friends, her husband was a firefighter who ran into the building and never came out. So there's still healing that's needed. There's still comfort that's needed. And then still to seek God, because we're told in Romans chapter 13 that we should be praying for our leaders. And so let's take a moment of silence right now just to do that before we continue. Amen. Thank you. Well, this is going to be an awkward transition, but it's still what I need to do. I'd like you to take a moment to stand up, see who's around you, say hi. If you're not ready to shake or hug, just wave. Just let's be friendly for the next minute.
try to talk to my piano, I try to talk to my guitar, talk to my imagination, confide it into alcohol. I tried and tried and tried some more, told secrets till my voice was sore. I'm tired of empty conversation, 'cause no one hears me anymore. 100 million stories and 100 million songs. I feel stupid when I sing. Nobody's listening to me. Nobody's listening. I talk to shooting stars, but they always get it wrong. I feel stupid when I pray. So why am I praying anyway? If nobody's listening, anyone, please send me anyone. Lord, is there anyone? I need someone. Oh, anyone, please send me anyone. Lord, is there anyone? I need someone. I used to crave the world's attention. I think I've cried too many times. I just need some more affection. Anything to get me by. 100 million stories and 100 million songs. I feel stupid when I sing. Nobody's listening to me. Nobody's listening. I talk to shooting stars, but they always get it wrong. I feel stupid when I pray. So why am I praying anyway? If nobody's listening, anyone, please send me anyone. Lord, is there anyone? I need someone. Oh, anyone, please send me anyone. Oh Lord, is there anyone? I need someone. Oh, anyone, I need anyone. Oh, I need anyone. I need someone. Anyone, please send me anyone. Lord, is there anyone? I need someone. 100 million stories and 100 million songs. I feel stupid when I sing. Nobody's listening to me. Nobody's listening.
Yeah, when I hear that song, I don't know if I should clap or cry. I mean, don't you hear the pain? I also often wonder when I hear a song like that about the writer of the song, what was going on in her life or in his life when they wrote those words. But here's what I know for sure. If you're alive, if you live on planet Earth as a human being, all of us will have times when those words reflect our reality. It's how we feel. Unseen, unheard, unvalued, unnoticed, unloved. As the writer said, I pray, but I don't know if you're listening, God. You ever feel that way? It's part of the human experience. And so we're tackling some big things today in the next few weeks, and we talk about human emotion. Tracy said in her words that they're a gift from God, but often they don't feel like a gift. In fact, the emotions that we're most aware of are the ones that are painful. What does it mean to be unseen? And when I was trained as a counselor, we were trained if you're talking to someone in counseling and you ask them how they're feeling and they use a word that's not a feeling word, you have to help them get to the feeling. So if someone says, well, I feel unseen, you say, well, what does it feel like when you feel unseen? inconsequential. What does it feel like when you feel inconsequential? Not noticed. Well, what does it feel like when you're not noticed? And you keep going until you get to what the raw emotion is. And I think when it comes to being unseen, where you're on the margin and you don't know if anybody cares or knows or even notices, what we often feel is we feel lonely and sadness and sometimes even depression. It can go to depression. So taking on a topic like this in a 25-minute message is a pretty tall assignment. And I just want to say that as I worked on it this week, I think as dependent as I've ever been on the Holy Spirit to say, you give me the words for this. Because it might be exposing a lot of pain that's already there. There's some of you right now, when you heard that song, you said, that's me right now. That's how I feel. That's me. So I don't want you to hear from Craig today because I have nothing to say to you apart from what God might say to you through me. And that's my prayer right now. And so, God, I'm actually asking that right now, God, that you would be in this place. All these faces I'm looking at, people I don't know, people online, you know, and you know where they're at, and you know what they need. And so I pray somehow by the miracle of your Holy Spirit, you can bring to each of us what we need today. Because it's a pretty tall assignment. Now, I have to confess something. In this series, other than today, we're going to be looking at the life of David, because he had the whole range of emotions. But as I was preparing for this and trying to discern God's leading, I came to feel very strongly that I wasn't supposed to teach on David. So I'm going to say something about David so I can be compliant with what the expectation was, but we're going to go in another direction. But we're going to talk about being unseen. The reason why we chose David in this first one is that David had this very powerful experience of being unseen. Because when Saul was no longer going to be the king, God sent the prophet Samuel to a man named Jesse who had a bunch of sons, and he said, the new king is one of his sons. So Samuel came to Jesse, he said, get all your sons together in a room so I can tell you which one is the king. And so he went by each one, and when he got to the last son, he said, none of them are the king. Are you sure you don't have another son? Well, yeah, there's David. He's the youngest, the run of the liver. He's out tending the sheep. Bring him here. When he walked in the room, he said, that's the king. So we were going to unpack, what would it like to be David? You didn't even get invited to that lineup. You talk about being unseen in your family, unnoticed. And so there's a powerful message in that, I'm sure. And if you want to go online and listen to the message at Troy or Orion, you're going to get the David story. But I'm going to go someplace different today. Because as I looked at this, there's a story in the Old Testament, the very first book of the Bible, just 16 chapters in, that to me is often overlooked, and it tells something so powerful about God as it relates to this topic of being unseen. So that's where we're going to go. Now, before we go there, we're going to take a moment to receive our offering, and as part of this, I'm going to share some really, really exciting news for you in terms of what God has done through us. But as you know, if this is your church home, if this is your community, if you want to invest in us, we make it easy. You can give online through the app. You can mail in a check, or we have, if you're here with us today, we have buckets in the back. And this is really partnering with us. The gift that you give, we know, is a gift of sacrifice because almost none of us have too much money, but you're investing in the kingdom work of God, and we are so grateful for your partnership with us. Now, the good news is about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we announced, when things were falling apart in Afghanistan, we announced that through one of our global partners, we wanted to help refugees, people get out of the country. And it was a very covert operation, and we said, here's an opportunity. We didn't twist arms. If you want to give money to this effort, please contribute. And in 1 week's time, and I wish the drummer was here so we could do a drum roll. I'm so blown away by this. In 1 week's time, you gave $200,000, Kensington Church. Let's thank God for that. That's amazing. And so far, that's helped, through our partners, that's helped over 1,000 people get out to safety. The need is ongoing, not financially right now, but just to continue to pray for the team there. The team partners on the ground there are safe so far, and they're doing amazing work to help get these families to safety. Now, one of the things we will be talking about in the weeks to come is that some of these families are likely to relocate in the Detroit area, and we are looking at a local partner who's going to help resettle these families, and we hope that we as a church can play a part of that as well. So stay tuned for more information. But again, it's one of the things I like most about Kensington is the generosity. When there's a need, you respond. And it happened in India this year with the COVID. It just keeps happening again, so thank you. So what's this story in Genesis that I was drawn to this week, like in a powerful way? And the background is this. In the early chapters of Genesis, we meet a couple, and their names are changed, but their names before they're changed are Abram and Sarai, become Abraham and Sarah. And God calls Abraham to leave his place and to go to a place that he will show him, and then he makes him this promise. He said, I'm going to give you children that will be as many as the stars in the heaven. Of course, didn't mean that literally. It was a way of saying, you're not going to be able to count your heirs. I'm going to make you into a great nation, which became the nation of Israel. But one of the problems was that Abraham and Sarah were both up there in years. But they had this promise of God, and so now they're waiting for the child to come. And over time, the child's not coming. And as we human beings often do, when things aren't happening according to our timetable, we take matters into our own hands. And so this is what happened. This first part should be offensive to you, because it's a strange event. Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children. But she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar, so she said to Abram, the Lord has kept me from having children. Go sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Bible's tough sometimes, isn't it? First of all, this woman of God has a slave. What's this thing with slavery? And then, when she doesn't get pregnant, she invites her elderly husband to sleep with, which was likely this young woman, as a slave so that they could have an heir. That offends our sensibilities today, but back then, this was not uncommon to do this. If you had a maidservant or a slave and you couldn't get pregnant, they would get pregnant through your husband, and then that child would become your own. It wouldn't belong to the slave. So that's the scenario we find ourselves in. They've taken matters into their own hands to solve a problem that they think God was just taking too much time. So she gets pregnant. Now, where we're going to try to go in our journey together today is into the life and the reality of Hagar. Because in this story, when it's told, she is such a subplot, a pawn in the story, that we don't really pay much attention to her. I haven't, honestly. I've taught this passage before. Center stage, the big players are Abraham and Sarah. That's what this is about, what God is going to do and create this nation Israel. So we got this Hagar, and she's, violated. It's an awful thing that happened. But she's not really been important in the story. Today, what we're going to do today is she is the center of this story. And you'll see why in just a moment. So she gets pregnant. And is anyone surprised that she and Sarah are not getting along now? Like, duh. So she goes to Abraham and complains, kind of blames him. So this is your fault. Do something about it. And here's how this wise man responds to Sarah. Says, your slave is in your hands, Abraham said. Do with her whatever you think best. Sarah mistreated Hagar, so she fled from her. So let's bring Hagar alive if we can right now. I'm going to ask you to use your imagination to make this story real. This is a human being. Let's rewind all the way back to the family she was born in, like every baby. She learned to walk. She's got probably mom and dad. She might have siblings. She's learning like they all learn. And then something happens in her life. Probably by the time she was a teenager, she ends up being sold as a slave. How did this happen? We don't know for sure, but we know earlier in Genesis, Abraham and Sarah found themselves in Egypt, and for a variety of reasons, Pharaoh decided to bless them and sent them away, but gave them the gift of donkeys and cows and people as property. And Sarah became one of those, or Hagar became one of those. So whatever dreams she had as a little girl growing up have been totally dashed. She's separated now from her family, from her culture, from her language, from everything that she's known in a foreign land with foreign people, and she's living as a slave. She has no rights, no identity. And worst of all violations, she's asked to sleep with this old man so she can have a baby that will belong to them. And she does it because she has no choice. And she gets pregnant, and she gets mistreated, and now she runs out into the wilderness. So let's try to picture her there. When I close my eyes and picture this, I picture the worst possible scene. She's sitting in the ground, she's leaning against a rock. It's raining, it's cold. She has no food, no job, no income, no community, no one to talk to, and she's pregnant. Can anyone be more alone than that? More unseen than that? I mean, if we opened our hearts to the reality of this, it would break our hearts for her. I picture my daughter. Picture someone you know and love, and imagine them in this scenario, and there's no one that can reach them, and she has no prospects. She's not planning plan A and plan B. She has no plan. She is totally stuck there, doomed, no hope. She's in this story of Abraham and Sarah, almost as an afterthought, and yet she's not an afterthought because of what happens. This, to me, only 16 chapters into the Bible, is one of the most important revelations about who God is. We come here every week to talk about God, learn about God, sing about God. This reveals something very important about God that is foundational to everything else, and it happens through an encounter that happens. And so we pick the story up in Genesis 16, verse 7. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. So she at least had found water. But God, the angel of the Lord, found her. So I want you to think about that word found, because that means he was looking. You know, when I was a kid, we played a game that you should all know called hide and seek. Everybody know hide and seek? This was before video games, computer games. There was electricity. I just want you to know that when I was playing it. And it's a simple game. In case you're from Mars or something, one person counts to 60, everybody hides, and then that person's got to go find them, and then you win if you're the last person found. So my friends pranked me one time. I think as I was recalling this story, I was about 8 years old, living in Grand Rapids. I can picture it very vividly. So we all went and hid, and Tony is counting to 30, and we have to go hide. So I go find a really good hiding spot quickly. And they all colluded to play a prank on me, and what they did is when I went and hid, they all went into Tony's house and went inside. So I'm out there hiding, and no one is finding me, and I'm thinking, I won. So I waited. And I waited. Man, it's quiet out here. I really found a good spot. And I waited. About 6 months. And finally I come out and I go, I'm here, I win. And there's nobody there. Nobody was looking for me. That's just a childhood prank, right? And it was 4 decades of therapy, and I'm over it now. But there was this awful feeling I can still remember in the moment that they all left me here alone. And I thought people were looking for me, and no one was looking for me. And the point of the game is actually to be found, isn't it? I mean, you want to win, but you don't want to never be found. It's so funny, when my daughter was maybe 4 or 5 years old, I was trying to teach them this game, and she's such a social person that she would hide about 10 feet away. And I would count, and as soon as I turned to lunch, she'd say, Daddy, and she'd run toward me. It's like, you're not getting the concept of this game. But it was relational for her. She wanted to be found. She wanted the embrace. She wanted the smile. She wanted the joy. She wanted the laughter. See, as human beings, we want to be found. We want to be pursued. We want to be seen. That's our nature. It's how God made us. And so here's Hagar, alone, by a spring, pregnant, with no hope. Wanting to be found, but there's no one looking for her. As far as she knows, there's no one coming for her. She's done. And then this happens. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was a spring that is beside the road to Shur, and he said to Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? By the way, God, he knew the answer to those questions. Whenever you see God asking questions of people in the Bible, he knows the answer. Why is he asking it? Because he wants relationship. He wants conversation. He wants dialogue. He wanted her to express, here's where I find myself. Here's what's happened to me. And everything that she was feeling would come out. And so he asked her that question, and she answers it. She says, I'm running away from my mistress Sarai, she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, go back to your mistress and submit to her. I used to have trouble with that command because that seemed cruel. Go back to the one who's mistreating you. But if you look at the next 16 years of Hagar's life, this was the best place possible for her to be. Because she was cared for, she was provided for, she gave birth to her son. Eventually she went away with her son and started her own nation. And God fulfilled his promise to her that they would be, you'll see this coming up in just a moment. He says, I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. You understand what's happening here? She gets the same promise that Abraham gets. As many as the stars. And to her, you're going to have so many descendants that are going to come. You're not going to die here. Your son is not going to die here. You're going to give birth, and eventually there will be more descendants than you can possibly count. So he gave her this promise. The angel of the Lord also said to her, you are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall call him or name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. My two favorite words in those verses are the word found and heard. Because she was hiding, no choice. She was hiding in despair. And God found her and heard of her misery. He knew, and he pursued her. And how is Hagar, sitting there alone, going to respond to this? She does something that no person in the Bible, man or woman, did before or after. She's one of a kind. And that is, she gives a name to God. God gives, he revealed names, his own names, but she named him based on her experience. Here's what she says. She gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees me. The God who sees me. For she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. Man, just let that soak in for a minute. In that moment, she went from despair and aloneness and no hope to being before the God, as she said, who sees me. I was tempted not to share the Hebrew here. El is God. So you have things like El Shaddai, that's the God of glory. Elohim, the God who creates. You have the name Jehovah, the name for God. And these names are all grandiose and big, and it's God out there. He's God, we're human. But now this woman, in her darkest moment of her life, sitting there, no longer alone, gives a name to this God, and it goes from a God who could be seen as distant, impersonal, who's one right here in your circumstances. I have now seen the God who sees me. I think that's just remarkable and beautiful. And she obeyed God, and she got up and she went back to the place of her suffering, but not alone. I don't think her circumstances probably changed much when she got back there, but they changed in her mind and her ability to cope with it and deal with it, because she knew that there was a God who saw her, who heard her. When she was hiding, he pursued her, discovered her, restored her, embraced her, loved her. She saw the one who saw her. And so what does this mean for us? There are times in our lives, and some of you are in it right now, where you relate to the story painfully. You know, there's different kinds of slavery that still exist. There's racism, there's gender inequality, there's economic disparity, lots of prejudice out there. There's our dysfunctional families that some of us were raised in, maybe we still live in. We're discarded, we're discounted, we're pushed aside. We might be in a work situation where we're working hard and we're not getting paid as we should or appreciated as we should. Someone else is getting credit for it. Places that we can feel unloved, unseen. We can feel like the guy behind the screen singing. Is anyone listening to me? Does anyone even know I'm here? And this story of Hagar to me is so powerful because it tells us that there is a God, the real God, the creator God, who always sees us. He never stops pursuing us. He never stops looking for us. He never stops coming for us. I've not had an angel of the Lord appear to me like Hagar did. I wish that would happen daily to me, because doubt creeps in, as it does for all of us. But this story reminds me that there is a God who cares deeply. He's not a distant, abstract God that we worship from afar. He's one who comes right into our space with us. When we feel the most alone, he's there. And Hagar was able to experience that and embrace that enough that she was able to turn her heels to the wilderness and walk back into that place where God wanted her. And God cared for her there. And we're not told hardly anything else. There is some more to Hagar's story, and it gets actually quite complicated. But I believe that she went back and sat in that space and maybe was still mistreated and tormented by Sarah. But she knew that there's Sarah, and then there's the God who sees me. And I'm going to anchor my life in the God who sees me. That's where I'm going to put my hope. That's the voice that I'm going to listen to. The one who has affirmed my value and has affirmed his value and his love for me. And so I want to just offer two challenges to you this morning, maybe in terms of what do we do with this. And as I said, I can't know all your circumstances here and those that are with us online today. I don't know what you're dealing with or struggling with. Or maybe you will tomorrow. But I think it's important for us as we think about God, as we engage in the journey of faith, as we go to church, as we engage in Bible studies, we're in community group, that we take time to slow down our minds and slow down our actions and to sit quietly and listen for the God who sees you. To hear his voice. Not audibly, but that voice that speaks to you, that says, no one else sees you, but I do. Right now, no one seems to care for you, but I do. No one else is telling you how valuable you are, how wonderfully I've made you, but I see that. You are mine. You belong to me. And I'm never going to stop pursuing you. I'm never going to stop coming after you. And what God wants from us, people often ask, well, what does God want from me? I'll tell you this, in my life, my long life now, after doing this for many years, is the number one thing God wants for each of us is to know how deeply he loves us. That's the foundation for everything. And I love this slave woman from Egypt laid down the most important theological foundation for our faith by telling us, now all these years later, that God in his essence is a God who sees. It's not distant, uninvolved, uncaring, abstract, removed. Right here, right now, today, in this moment. He sees you. And so the first challenge is this. I would really encourage you to look for the God who sees you, to see the God who sees you. It may sound like a funny assignment. By the way, these are not steps. This is not solved by do these 3 simple steps. For us to create a rhythm in our lives where we're slowing the voices down and the activity down and we're sitting like Hagar against her will, sitting alone in the quietness so she could hear the voice of the Lord who would say, I see you. If we could live our everyday, work, school, play, everything we do, with this knowledge, this awareness, deep awareness, conviction that I'm doing this with the God who sees me and loves me and values me, it would change everything. But it doesn't come without effort to do that, just to sit and listen with expectation, to meditate on this. In fact, David, who wrote a psalm at one point where he said, God, I'm praying and I don't think you're listening, and are you there, and how long are you going to remain silent? He was very honest in the Psalms with his emotions. But he also wrote this psalm in 139. He says, you have searched me, Lord. You know me. You know when I sit down and when I rise, you perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. So David, like every human being, his emotions would ebb and flow, but he had these moments of clarity where he said, you're with me always. You know everything about me. I can't escape your presence. So no matter if my world is falling apart around me and no one's with me in this, you are always there. You are faithful. And if we're going to do this life, we need that assurance. We need that reminder. We need to lean into God and wait for that voice that tells us, like that voice said to Hagar, I see you. I came looking for you. I heard your misery, and I found you, and I see you. Now, I feel like I could stop there. And when I was writing my message, I did stop there. But then I got thinking about something, and I'm going to end sharing this with you. I think there's a second thing we need to do. We need to see the God who sees us. The second thing is we need to see each other. We need to see each other. Because God becomes more real when someone in our life affirms us, loves us, values us, speaks truth into our life, cares for us, carries our burden with us. We were meant for this. I'm going to ask you a trick question. Is God all we need? Don't answer it, because if you answer it wrong, I'll shame you. Just kidding. Man, at first impulse, it sounds like we should say, yeah, God's all I need. Do you know that's not true? And Craig Mays is not the first one to say that. You know who said it first? God said it. We usually make this just about marriage and male and female in Genesis chapter 2. I did a wedding last week. This verse often comes up that God created, us for each other. But here's what God said in Genesis. He said, it's not good for man to be alone. Wait a minute. This is before sin came into existence. You had paradise, you had the animal world, you had Adam walking with God in the cool of the evening. What else could Adam need? And God says it's not good for him to be alone. And I think the reason why this truth is revealed to us in the manner it is in Genesis 2 is to accentuate how important and critical and necessary and by design it is that we are together in community, that we need each other. And when I'm having a bad day, I can sit alone with God, but if a friend of mine calls me up and says, you came to mind today, how are you doing, Craig? And I can have a conversation where I hear caring and expressions of love and prayer for me, I hang up that phone and it can be transforming because God designed us that way. So can I encourage you this week to not only see the God who sees you, make time for that, but look around and say, who is in my area of influence who feels invisible, feels unseen, feels unvalued, feels unnoticed, is having the worst day of their life for the last month or the last year. COVID devastated them. Financially, they're devastated. They lost their house. They're grieving of loss of loved ones, whatever it is. That person needs God and to know that God sees them, but he needs you. She needs me. We are made for this. I shared this months ago in a message I gave on identity. One of my favorite authors is Dr. Kurt Thompson, and he's a psychiatrist who said this. He said that we come into the world looking for someone looking for us. We come into the world looking for someone looking for us. If you don't believe that, watch a child as they grow into that first year and they start doing things, and they don't want to do it alone. They want to make sure mom and dad, or you're looking at them, and if you're not looking, they'll get your attention. Look what I did. Look what I can do. I put my own shoes on. I stacked the blocks. I rode my tricycle. Look me. Why is that the impulse in children? Because that's how God made us. To be noticed, to be seen, to be valued, to be loved, to be cherished. And we have to provide that for each other. God says it. He feels that way. We need to say that to each other, that we feel that way. So let's be on the look for those that we can make visible, that we can take the unseen and make them seen. Last thing I'll say, one of the things that I encourage you to do today when you leave is don't run out to the parking lot. Dinner will be waiting for you. They're going to hold your reservation. Make sure you stop by some of the tables out there that are ways to plug in, to get plugged into community. Because the God who sees you, just like with Hagar, says, I want you to go now and leave this place of isolation and go. It can be a very hard thing to do, to take that risk. But to step into community, step into relationship. If you're a person that feels unseen, pick up the phone and call that person and tell them what's going on. Let them express their love and support for you. And actually, the way I'd like to end right now, because I've been talking for 25, 30 minutes. I've been talking pretty fast. I'm aware of that. I want to be quiet for a minute now. I'd like us just to rest in this moment, and if you wouldn't mind closing your eyes just so you're not distracted. And I'm going to give you a real simple assignment. I'd like you to listen for God. And God, I'm praying that you will speak now into our hearts to simply say, I see you. In your brokenness, in your pain, in your isolation, your anxiety, your uncertainty, I see you. And I will never leave you nor forsake you. Listen for his voice.
You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain.
You go before I know that you've even gone to win my war. You come back with the end of your truth. Your mercy is the shade I'm living in, and you restore my faith and hope again. And all I did was praise, and all I did was worship. All I did was bow down. Oh, all I did was stay still. Ooh, and hallelujah, you have saved me. So much better your way. And hallelujah, great defender, so much better your way. Hallelujah, and hallelujah, you have saved me. So much better your way. And hallelujah, great defender, so much better your
Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, you're right. Even there, your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you.
And when I thought I lost me, you knew where I left me. You reintroduced me to your love. You picked up all my pieces, put me back together. You are the defender of my
created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. How precious to me are your thoughts, God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to count them, they would be outnumbered the grains of sand. When I awake, I am still with you.
Don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. No wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down. found leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
So after the first service, someone in the lobby said, I'm not familiar with the 99, leave the 99 reference. So I said, oh, it's one of the most beautiful chapters in the Gospels. It's Luke 15, where Jesus tells three parables, the lost sheep, the lost coin, the lost son. In the lost sheep, he said, what shepherd having 100 sheep and one wanders away will not leave the 99 to go look after the one? So it's really a retelling of the Hagar story, that it's a God who sees, a God who looks for, a God who pursues. And I hope you know that. And in fact, I'm gonna Jenna, come up here. I'm going to ask Jenna, so you just sang these words over again, so we're going to see if you can speak them and not sing them. Okay. So it said that he's going to climb mountains, knock down walls.
Yeah,
Tell us.
No shadow he won't light up, no mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No wall you won't kick down, no lie you won't tear down, coming after me.
Beautiful. I like it when you sing it too. But so do you believe that? There's nothing that will get in the way of God's pursuit of us. I hope you experience that this week. That's really our heart and prayer, is that you'll know that reality of God's love for you. A way to reinforce it is to come back Wednesday night. We have midweek service this week. Once a month we do it. It's our turn on September 15th, 7 o'clock, right here. Great worship, great teaching. Let's get together and affirm God's love for us, okay? God bless. You have a great day.